Now, our third speaker is Mr. Alvin Tan. He again needs no introduction, but let me read a little bit about you. Alvin Tan is the founder and artistic director of The Necessary Stage. Growing up, his young Christian students' liberation theology, formation in the 80s, supplemented his formal education. Together with literature and sociology at NUS, he continues his work in the theatre till today. Here's Alvin. Thank you.
Thank you, Sulan. I'm just bear with me. I'm just reading an excerpt from Gemok Girls, one of our plays. Harish Sharma interviewed ex-political detainees and did some research. And it references detention during Operation Cold Store. The call to abolish the ISA remains as pertinent as it was in 1987 and as it is now. Juliana is the granddaughter of the grandfather who was alleged to be a communist. So she's at a protest. Yeah. On the 16th of September 1962, my grandfather, Mazuki bin Abdul Rahman, was detained under the Preservation of Public Security Ordinance, together with 127 other people. At 4:05 in the morning, 2 officers of the Special Branch went to his family home. They violated and humiliated him in front of his family. They lied that he would be returned safely, and they used force and violence to drag him to jail. Under detention, he was interrogated, abused, and tortured in unimaginable ways. At no point was he charged or given a fair trial. The officers responsible have never been named or brought to justice. Nor has my grandfather. He is dead. He is dead with no cause, no charge, no trial. He is dead, and no one has been rebuked. No one has taken responsibility. One man's rights was violated. He was only one man, but he was treated beneath a man. He was treated unjustly. There will be no justice if even one man's rights is violated. Disorder and dissent can harm the whole community. As president of freedom of rights, expressions, and ethics, I demand the immediate abolishment of the Internal Security Act. I demand the immediate abolishment of the Internal Security Act. Abolish ISA, abolish ISA, abolish ISA. The arts and theatre and all other art forms have actually documented various forms of all these like time capsules, and they put all this into print. And recently, the arts community has compiled art pieces that document detention and especially the Operation Spectrum, and it's being released, and now you can see it on Facebook. It's important that these things get documented in literature because it gives the narrative that is not being taught in school. And I feel that that's important if the younger generation get in touch with it, especially the humanity of it and how these policies and these things, when executed, has affected families and lives. I think that is really like underrated, and it's not, it's not made mainstream, especially when the media is not carrying stories like that. I'm here to talk about also fear. I find that it's, because my time in 1987, that's where The Necessary Stage started, was when the Operation Spectrum happened, and we also celebrate our 30th anniversary this year. It was very difficult when we were forming the group because we were asked why we were focused on local plays and why my exco was filled with Catholics. Because then I was from Catholic Junior College and my exco was actually filled with Catholic members. But it was really a period of fear, and there were a lot of following, the sounds on the bugs on the telephone. They wanted you to know that you were being followed. We weren't being approached, our actors were being approached by internal security officers. So that was that kind of paralyzing fear. I think today, if you look around, the fear expresses itself or manifests itself in a different way. They look at what is at stake, your job, your career, your funding. I got a call, right, to say that we can't put up Suk Yi's Square Moon for the Fringe Festival because if we do, our funding will be cut. So it's as direct as that. So I said, okay, but we've put the play through MDA. Can we go through the procedure? And I was told it is not about MDA's procedure. It is how the necessary stage behaves. So it is as direct as that. So I told MDA, your procedure is all rubbished by the fact that a phone call can actually, rubbish your mechanism. And it's true, it's out of their hands. So, but the Fringe Festival goes through many other controversies. Sometimes it wins some cases and sometimes it doesn't. What I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to look at how do you survive if you work within the system. It's controversial because of course, other people would say, why work within the system, don't receive the funding. It's not as easy as that. Different people would have different positions, and sometimes we need to work within the system and to engage the system. Recently also, we've got into trouble with undressing room and naked ladies, and it's still having to work and negotiate with the mechanisms. What I'm looking at is where do we get the formation? In the past, I had my formation from young Christian students, and that helped me a lot instead of getting influenced by just the education system. There was such thing as an alternative formation force, and that together with literature and sociology, that provided me with that alternative formation. So today, where will that formation come from, and how do we recognize difference so that we can work across our diversity, so that we can address fear? Why I get upset, because we always talk about the culture of fear, and then it just paralyzes us, and we can't get out, and it falls into a binary, whether you are in fear or you are courageous. And if you're courageous, then you would risk your life, you would risk everything. I think we have to address the fact that people have to live, they need their rice bowl, they need to support their elderly parents. And how do you engage all that, take that on board, and how do you work? And part of the other formation is, as you work, you are educated into how to negotiate with the present system and how to gain more ground. And as you know, with the arts, each time we put up something new and we rebelled in new ways, you school the senses. And the senses, of course, get smarter as well. So you are also responsible for creating and contributing to the sophistication of censorship. So that's the paradox we are in. But my question is that we have to turn to each other and stop looking at the government as the provision of solutions. And we have to find a way to work across our differences and to find ways in which we can combine our resources and to grow that trust. Although we say that the government fear us, they have put into the policies different ways to regulate and control us, and they have, in a way, succeeded in dividing us up and atomizing us. So the thing is, we have to, Ko Pao Kun once used to say to me, we have to be one step ahead of the people who have designs to control us. So what does that mean? So that means we have to look at our own diversity. Today, we are more diverse than ever. There's more assertiveness in all the interest groups. Maybe because of capitalism, because of increased confidence, all our interest groups are more assertive. Today, I don't see just the state as people I have to reckon with. I see the extreme Christian right as well that has sent letters and email to all ministers when they got upset looking at the place we were staging for the Fringe. They have that kind of influence as well, and not just the state. So when we look at that, we can't just keep looking in a polarized and binary way of us versus the state. We have to look really at how diverse we are and who are the allies and how do we develop mediation centers, mediation skills, and facilitation skills, and how do we facilitate the differences among ourselves to increase that trust instead of letting that trust be destroyed and being abused and being therefore easier and more vulnerable to being controlled by the government. That's all I want to share.